Hello, ladies. Welcome to my show tonight. Trying to get all my earphones adjusted. These things are weird. So it's just me tonight, mini show Monday, talking about a subject that I'm excited about. I love talking about femininity and being a lady. It's near and dear to my heart. So let's give it a minute and wait for people to show up. I see a couple people, Amber and Dorothy. Hello. And Prizzle. How do you say that? Crystal, Yanis, and Blanca. Welcome. There's a little bit of a lag, so I always like to wait until everyone joins. Alicia. Okay, so I was going to try to screen share a video. I found this really, hi, Kirsten. Hi, Wilma. I found a really cute video. It's very politically incorrect, and it is a Disney song, but it's a Haley Mills movie from 1963 called Summer Magic. I've never even seen the movie. My husband's seen it before, but it was just a really cute. It was just a really cute movie. Let me see if I can. I don't know if this is going to work. I was going to try to screen share it. My husband said it's probably going to fail, but let me see if I can try to screen share it. I've never done a screen share before. Okay, so I'm going to share my entire screen. Okay, I'm going to share it. And then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to put this on full screen and play the video.
You must walk feminine, talk feminine, smile and beguile feminine, utilize your femininity. That's what every girl should know if she wants to catch a beau. I just want Gilly. Dance feminine, glance feminine, act shy and sigh feminine, compliment his masculinity. That's what every girl should know if she wants to catch a beau. You're bubbling too much. Let him do the talking. Men adore good listeners. Laugh, but not loudly. Ha ha! If he should choose to tell a joke, be radiant but delicate. Memorize the rules of etiquette. Be demure, sweet and pure. Hide the real you feminine. Dress feminine. You're at your best feminine. Emphasize your femininity. That's what every girl should know. Femininity, femininity. That's the way to catch a beau.
Okay, so hopefully you guys are able to see that. Now, how do I get out of screen share? That's the thing. Aha, stop. Okay. And then how do I go back to the video? Cameraman? Nope, that's not it. Okay, there we go. I actually did something. Okay, did something right, I think. So that might have been a little choppy, but I just thought it was a really cute, I just thought it was a really cute little song. It's very politically, okay, good. So you were able to hear it. So the video was laggy, but the sound was fine. Good. That was the main thing. I wanted you guys to be able to hear the song. I just thought it was cute because back then, you know, they were still embracing their femininity. And that was 1963. So you could see how far we've come since 1963. So, you know, what is that, like 60 some years or something like that? I'm not good at doing math super fast, but we live in a society that is totally trying to get rid of genders. It's trying to blur the line between the sexes. It's trying to push being effeminate onto men, and it's trying to push women to be more manly. And obviously, you know, I am against that. I believe that God, from the moment of conception, designed who you were supposed to be. If you were going to be a woman, if you were going to be a man, he put all those. And if you do research, you can see that there are biological, chemical, you know, differences between male and female. So it's very obvious. We even have secular people that aren't Christians that will tell you, scientists will tell you there are biological and physiological and chemical differences between women and men. So Grammy7 said, I remember that movie. I was 14 then. So, yep, I've never seen the movie, but I just thought that was a cute song. So obviously, if you look in Genesis 5, verse 2, I have my phone here. I'm just going to be Googling the verses that I'm reading. It's just easier to do that. Genesis 5, verse 2. We all know this verse. Okay, it says, male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day that when they were created. So he created male and female specifically, 2 genders, not 50 genders. I believe that gender dysphoria is what they call it when, I don't know, they might even be getting rid of that term just because it's politically incorrect now because we're supposed to embrace all the genders. But gender dysphoria is when you don't think that you are the gender that you were born biologically and you try transitioning, you try changing your gender. And this is not just going on in the world. This is also starting to creep into Christian homes. I know of a couple Christian families that their children, after they grew up, they decided that they were going to transition into the other sex. And they're actually, I know of a girl, she's actually taking testosterone and things, trying to change everything. And she gave herself a boy name. She is now trying to be a boy. And so, it's running rampant. It's creeping into the Christian homes. Even Christian kids are getting confused about this. And so I think, teaching your daughters about femininity and embracing your femininity at a young age will help them to grow up to be ladies of virtue and good Christian ladies. And I know my girls, I have not really had, my girls are they're very athletic. They're very into, playing outside and jumping on the trampoline and, doing very athletic things, but I've never really had a tomboy that's wanted to dress like a boy or, anything like that. So I've been blessed. Now the way you dress and the way you carry yourself, obviously, is going to reflect, your daughters are going to see that and they're going to try to imitate it. And I found that to be true with my daughters. They try to imitate my daughter and my oldest daughter and I actually have a lot of the same style when it comes to clothing and things. So, they pick up on that. But no matter what, the world says, no matter how politically incorrect it is, God's word still stands. 2 genders, that's still God's plan. Male and female created he them. So we're going to get into now the just characteristics of femininity. And I'm going to link to a blog post I saw. It was funny because I had actually decided on this topic and Kimmy Gessler shared a blog post and it's from makingithome.net. I'm going to link to it in the video after I'm done. But there's an article that she wrote about how to be more feminine. And it just fell right in line with some thoughts that I already had. And so I read the article and I couldn't believe how much it lined up with the notes that I had. And I actually have 3 pages of notes. So we'll see if I get through all of them. But I had written down a bunch of stuff and so many of my points were the same as her points unintentionally. So I'll link to that. It's a really, really good article. But the feminine meaning is having qualities or an appearance traditionally associated with women, especially delicacy and prettiness. So, God created us to be the fairer sex. Men are obviously, I'm not saying women can't be attracted to men, but men are visual. So God designed women to be softer and gentler than, big, tough, brawny men. So he designed us to be the fairer of the 2 because that's what men are attracted to. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being, the weaker. It's not a put down to be called the weaker. We are is it the weaker vessel? I should have written that verse down. Men are supposed to give honor unto us because we are the weaker vessel. So there's some traditional things or there's some points that go along with, just being feminine. What is feminine? When you think of being feminine, what is femininity to you? And these are just some things that it is to me when I think of being a feminine woman. So number one is just politeness and hospitality. This is one area where I've really had to stretch myself. And I think as women, we want to have like the perfect home, and, you know, we want to have a nice home. We want to have a comfortable home, and all those things are fine. But I feel like with me, I've really had to step out of my comfort zone when it comes to having people over, because my house isn't perfect. Okay, I live in a smaller house, so it is harder to have a lot of people over at one time. And it's also, it's a very comfortable home for me. I love my home. We live on 3 acres. That's one of the reasons that we moved here. But it is smallish. It's 1,300 square feet. In the summer, we don't have central air. We just have window air conditioners. And scruffy hospitality, yeah. And that's what Miss Leslie said. Hi, Leslie. How you doing? So it's harder for me. I think as women, we want everything perfect. We want the house like in the magazines, and we want everything done it perfectly. We want it perfectly clean. Well, when you have, 9 people living in a 1,300 square foot home, that's not going to always happen. So I've lowered my expectations quite a bit. And I found that as I've lowered them and we've had more people over more often, I'm more relaxed. I get more used to it. People aren't expecting a super clean house, because most women understand that life happens and their house isn't perfect all the time either, especially if you're homeschooling mama like I am. Your house is not going to be perfect. I try to have it cleaned really well, at least once a day, but the majority of the time it's not. So, just politeness and hospitality, try to be hospitable. This is definitely something that women are better at than men. I can't imagine if my husband was to get the house ready and have to do everything for when we had people over. It would be bad. He would probably just be like, okay, kids, get the house clean. Let's do it. And it wouldn't be good. So that's definitely a distinctly womanly trait. Also, grace, graceful, not just being graceful in how you present yourself, but extending grace to other people. So I think of, I think of a woman just trying to be gracious, forgiving people when they have wronged her, trying to be gracious in her speech and how she comes across to people. A big one for me is you're not a gossip. And I have so many, oh my goodness, I was looking at verses for gossip, and I have so many verses about gossip. Let me just start looking up some of them in here. It looks like some of them are some. So this one is one of my favorite verses when it comes to gossip and not talking. Proverbs 11:13. I think this is a verse that every woman, and every man for that matter, should memorize. A talebearer revealeth secrets, but he that is a faithful spirit concealeth the matter. And one thing that I can say I really strive to do, and this actually isn't super hard for me just because it's so important to me. If you tell me a secret, if you tell me something in confidence, I'm not going to go around spilling the beans. I'm not going to go tell someone else. I'm not going to get on a gossip site and spill it. Loyalty to me, and this calls it a faithful spirit. Faithfulness and loyalty go hand in hand. Faithfulness and loyalty for me are huge. And it's very rare that you find a woman or a close friend that you can confide in that will not go around telling everyone. And so for me, if you tell me a secret, it will stay with me. I will not tell anyone else. Some things maybe I might tell my husband, but it doesn't go any further than that. But as far as my friends, I'm not going to go around telling people that. I don't know. I feel I've seen women before that are just so quick. Like they get a little bit of gossip and they're just like, oh, they're just dying. They can't wait to get on the phone and text all their friends about it. And did you hear this? And did you hear that? And I cannot stand that. I could not stand it growing up. And as I'm married and now being in the ministry and working with people, we talk with people, and there are so many secrets. There's so many. And when I say secrets, it's not even necessarily bad things, but there are some private things to people, and maybe they need a listening ear. And it's nice for them to be able to tell someone about it. If someone confides in you and they trust you, don't betray that trust. Keep it. You don't need to go around. I mean, what's the big deal about being the first one to tell someone something? I don't understand that mindset. I hate that mindset. So I really, really strive. Thanks, Leslie. You're a good friend too. So I really, really strive to not tell things. That's a huge one. And there's so many verses. There's, like I said, Proverbs 11:13 is the best one. There's Proverbs 13:3. There is Proverbs 10:19. Let me look up a couple of these. There's so many verses in Proverbs. Proverbs is such a good book. Proverbs 10:19. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. All right. When in doubt, just keep your lips shut. And then there's a lot of verses even about fools. Even a fool is thought of wise when he's quiet. That was my own wording, but so be loyal. If someone trusts you, don't destroy that trust. That's a huge one for me. Loyalty is very rare in this day and age that we live in. Here's another verse. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction. That's a big one. There's a lot of verses. I don't think Solomon liked gossips much when it comes to in Proverbs. I don't really think that. Okay, and I don't know who this Michael Green is, but support Trump. He's our president and last savior. Okay. We'll just delete that. Leslie, you're the moderator. You're a moderator on here. If you see anyone being weird, just get rid of them. Yeah. Okay. Michael Green was hidden. Thank you. She could keep an eye on that for me. So we went over politeness and hospitality, grace extended to others. Do not gossip, be loyal friends. That reminds me of a gracious feminine woman. Modest dressed. Okay. Clean and put together. So obviously this is very important for me. I try to do my hair, wash my face, get dressed into something decent. When I say decent, I mean like a shirt and skirt. I don't mean like, sweats all day, or do I have sweat skirts? And, just try to look presentable. I think that's a very feminine thing. As I don't know if any of you have noticed this, but as our society has gotten worse about these gender things, women are just getting more and more sloppy all the time. I mean, obviously, we have that website, People of Walmart or whatever it is. So they do make sweat skirts. That's funny. I guess it's okay if you're like having a down day. But yeah, I don't think I'd wear a sweat skirt out to Walmart or something. That's hilarious. I've never seen those before. But I feel like you go to Walmart and almost every woman there, okay, 90% of women they just look like they rolled out of bed. They're in pajamas. They don't care how they look. Their hair is just not even brushed. If it's not brushed, they just throw it up in a messy bun. I'm not picking on them. I think it's fine to make judgments on people sometimes when it comes to things that they can prevent. Not looks, obviously. You never, looks or mental capacity, things like that. You do not pick on people for that. But when it comes to something that you can prevent, everyone can take a bath. Everyone can comb their hair. Everyone can wash their face. Everyone can get into presentable clothes that don't have stains and holes, and, just keep up with that. Be very careful. For me, it's a testimony thing as well. And already society already looks down on women with big families. It's just given. And when I have all these kids with me, and let's say that I do look like I look stressed out of my mind. I just rolled out of bed. My hair's everywhere, and I'm in, dirty, ripped up clothes. And then they see all those kids. It's just instantly it's a bad reflection, and I want people to think kindly of big families. I want people to think, oh, wow, she's so blessed, and it's going to be hard looking like I'm blessed when I look ragged and worn out because I haven't taken the time to, put myself together at all. So just when I think of femininity, I think of modest dress, clean and put together. And obviously, no discussion about clothes would be, people tell me, they ask, can I be feminine and not wear skirts all the time? Of course, you can. Now the skirts and the pants thing, that comes down to a heart issue, and it comes down to something that you need to be fully persuaded of in your own mind. I would never make the switch if I was not fully persuaded. For me, it's a non-issue, and my daughters, I do believe that skirts on women is God's plan. And so for me, it's non-issue. There's never been a fight with my daughters about it. That's all that they know, and they're comfortable in it. And so it's not the whole skirts pants issue is not even an issue in our home. That's just what they know, and that's what they like. And my daughters too, I encourage them from the time that they're small. Lana, she's kind of crazy. So I would tell her, Lana, sit like a lady. And how do ladies sit? Her legs would be all up in the air and she'd be doing cartwheels, which is fine. And that's kind of why I put little shorts on my little girls too, just because they are a little more modest than the older girls. But I encourage them from the time, you look so pretty, let me see you twirl. Like every Sunday, my little girls would come out when they were real little, and they'd be all dressed up and their hair would be all nice. And I would tell them, do your pretty spin. My husband would tell them, do your pretty spin. And they would go show daddy their outfits and how cute they looked. And they would do their pretty spin and they would spin around and show them. And we just encouraged, being ladylike and being pretty it's not a bad thing. Encourage your daughters to dress up and encourage your daughters to look like a lady. So from the time they were little, they have been encouraged in that area. So, but that's important to me. Dress is important. Modest dress is important. Obviously, another part of modesty is just, not nakedness, having the appropriate body parts covered up and things. So that's a part of being modest too. And Jessica, that's why I like culottes for girls. Yes, that's why I like culottes for my little girls too. They're able to run, jump, play, jump on the trampoline. And culottes are basically a split skirt, but they tend to stay down a lot better. With the skirt that kind of flares out, it kind of flies up. So culottes tend to stay put a lot better than, like a full poofy skirt or something. So, and then another one, not loud or boisterous, center of attention. Okay, so this is a big one too. Let me look up these verses. What's the first? Let me look it up. Proverbs 9:13. This one is a good one. A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knoweth nothing. And the clamorous definition means making a loud and confused noise. Okay. So everyone that knows me knows that I'm a talker. All the ladies from my church, I do the show. I talk a lot. I'm an extrovert. I like meeting people. If you see me anywhere at a conference or something, I like to talk a lot if I'm not chasing after kids or something. So yes, I like to talk a lot. But one thing that I try and I strive to do is I do try to have a quiet spirit. I do not want to come into a room and be super loud. Okay. Just be like, hey, look at me, laughing hysterically. What a thing that it was funny. It was a cute thing in that song. It said, you can laugh, but don't be loud about it, basically. Don't make a loud noise when you're laughing. So, I do try to have a quiet spirit. I don't, you've all seen it. As soon as a certain person with this type of personality walks in the room, she makes sure all eyes are on her. She's loud. She's laughing uproariously. She's, over talking people, really strive not to be that way, because the Bible does talk about loud and clamorous women, and it's in a very, very negative light. So definitely try to tone it down. And you don't want to be, I don't mind doing things publicly or on a platform or in front of people. I'm not shy when it comes to those things, but I don't necessarily like being the center of attention all the time. I don't like it when everyone's, I try not to be the center of attention. And there are some women that do try to be the center of attention. So you don't want to be one of those type of women. Let me look at some other verses. I have a lot about this one too. Proverbs 25, verse 24 says, oh yes, everyone should know this one too. It is better to dwell on the corner of a housetop than with a brawling woman and in a wide house. And brawling actually means, that's like a fighting, fight or quarrel in a rough or noisy way. Okay, so this actually means someone that's like punching, someone that's physical, but also, noisy way. That could be yelling. That could be, having a row with your husband. Does anyone say a row anymore? That could be having a huge fight with your husband. The Bible says it's better to dwell on the housetop, and we all know that verse. So then Proverbs 7:11. Have I done that one yet? You see. Proverbs 7:12. Proverbs 7. Let's go to that one. Oh yes. This is the woman in the attire of an harlot. And she is loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house. So she's loud and stubborn, and her feet abide not in her house. That's another good, that's a good verse for homemakers, because, our feet belong in our house. And this is a woman that her feet did not abide in her house. She was loud and stubborn as well. So that goes on to the next point. Another definition of femininity is our main focus is family and home. Okay, that's a distinctly feminine characteristic. I know more and more, they're pushing the men to, more and more they're pushing men to do stuff in the home, and they're pushing women to be the main breadwinners. But that's not God's plan. God's plan is that the women would marry young and have better children and run the house. That's God's main goal for women. So another thing, and if you guys have if you can think of any definitions of femininity that what you guys think of, just go ahead and leave them in the chat, and I will definitely, I'll definitely read it off. Let me know that you're still there. I'm always worried because I never know with my choppy internet connection if I'm going to lose you guys. So I like seeing the chat because then I know you're hearing me. So another one is respectful of husband does not demean him in front of others. And this is this is a big one. Being respectful of your husband and not demeaning. This might be there. Now this, I'm stumbling over my words. I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. There are some women, this is a feminine characteristic, I think, that we have to be careful of, actually. And that's, being a nag, nagging, or even just being disrespectful in general. But a feminine woman of grace is one that I think is just always respectful of her husband. If she does have a disagreement, and it's okay to have disagreements with your husband. I have disagreements with mine. But I try not to, first of all, it's awkward. I try not to bring it up in front of others or argue with him in front of others, because it puts everyone else in an awkward situation. So I try to be respectful of him in front of other people. And, I treat him the way I want to be treated. I see so many women that are so mean to their husbands and just so degrading. And I feel like saying, how would you feel if he treated you that way? It should go both ways. You need to treat him the way that you want to be treated. And I want to be treated with respect in private, in public. And so I try to treat him with respect, especially in front of people, though. That's a big one. But yeah, femininities. Did we talk about manners? We said something about politeness at the beginning, but I haven't really talked about manners. But that is a good one to train your children with young. And train your daughters to be ladies and be feminine, but also train your boys to be gentlemen. Train them to hold open doors and train them to stand up when women come in. I was so livid the other day. I said something about it on Facebook. I went to the driver's license place I think Kelly, it was on my birthday. So Kelly was like 2 weeks old. Okay. So I came in, I had my did I have my three youngest? I think I had all the littles with me. I had four of them with me. So I had Chloe, Allie, Lana, and then the baby. So usually I can't remember why that even happened. Most of the time I'm able to leave a couple of them at home, but for some reason I had to have all of them with me. And we came in the driver's station place and it was packed. Oh my goodness. And every seat was full, but every seat was full mainly by men. And so I came in lugging all this stuff, the diaper bag, my purse, the baby in one arm, trying to hold on to Lana so she doesn't get ran over. And I got the other two girls tagging behind me. I walked in and they just sat there looking at me like, everyone, all the guys. There was one person that offered me a seat, one person. And it was like a lady that was like 30 years old. A younger woman offered me a seat. And I told her no, because it was one seat and it was a big mob of us. So we just kind of stood in the middle of the driver's license place. We just stood there. And then a little bit later, two older ladies came in, one of them in a wheelchair. Same thing. No one offered. The one standing with her that was kind of helping her in the wheelchair, she had to be like 80. No one offered to help, to have her sit down. And I was telling my boys about it. I told my son, Tommy, I'm like, you know what? You better, if I ever hear that you did not stand for a lady with a newborn, carrying a newborn. And he was like, Mom, it wouldn't just be a lady with a newborn. I would give my seat to any lady. And that made me feel good. So I really hope he would. So let's see what some of the other ones are. A motherly instinct. That is very distinctly feminine. And more now, they are, they're getting rid of the sanctity of life. So that motherly instinct is just going completely out of the window. Mothers are killing their babies. Even wild creatures have more of a motherly instinct than some women now. So that is definitely a distinctly feminine thing. So Jessica said, I hate when wives talk bad about their husbands with other women. Yeah. Yeah, I'm there's some groups on Facebook that I'm in, and I'm just like sitting there reading some of these posts. I'm just appalled. I'm like, okay, I understand that it's not even super private. There's like thousands of women on this one group that I'm on. And I'm like, I understand that they feel okay because this is like a private group or whatever. But the things they say they basically give their whole life story. They list everything bad about their husbands. And I felt like saying, someone could screenshot this and have this evidence forever. Anything that you put on the internet is not private. So be very careful about what you share about your husband and Facebook posts. You know what? Not everyone wants to know about your drama and your fights. And the thing is, once you type those fights out, they're out there forever. It's things I want to scream at people sometimes. Do you not know that people take screenshots? Screenshots, people. I take screenshots of things that I want to save as evidence for future. I know other people are. So anytime you put something on the internet, it is always there forever. That's why my policy, and I've told you this before, is I never say anything online that I would not say in person. I never type out anything. I never leave in a comment. I never do a post. I never do anything online that I would not say in public. And that's why, number one, gossip sites. There's gossip sites everywhere. Facebook can be a giant gossip site. I would never leave comments on gossip sites because they will be there forever. So be careful. And that's right, Amber. People remember what you said, even when you end up forgetting all you ever thought about. In fact, I can't remember. I was reading it. It's made an impression on me as a young bride. I remember reading, don't complain about your husband to your mom, because you guys will get over it. You'll get over the fights. You'll go on. Married people fight. It's just going to happen. And the thing is, you'll get over it, but your mom will remember that because you are her baby. And she will be mad at your husband, and you don't want that happening. So don't be telling everyone all your marriage problems, because people remember. And don't type it out because there's something called screenshots. So Okay, this is another big one. I'm sorry, my throat is really scratchy tonight. A feminine woman is in control of her emotions, and she does not let emotions control her. This is a lot easier for me to talk about than most women because I'm not a super emotional woman. And Gina, if you're watching, I know you would agree with me. I'm not. You know, Gina and I are opposite. Gina is emotional. She's one of my friends from church. Gina is emotional. I am not. And that is fine. There are different levels of emotion that God creates us with. Some women are just more emotional than others, and that's fine. But, you know, you need to learn to control them, even if you are a little bit more emotional. And I'm not saying never cry, you know, never cry when sad things happen, never cry when you're going through something. But I'm talking about specifically anger. Do not let your anger control you. It can have some devastating consequences. So make sure that you are in control of your emotions. Do not let your emotions control you. So that was just my first page. So anyone else that has any more, go ahead and leave them. Peace Seeker said I wasn't emotional until I went through menopause. You know, I am actually going through, every time I have a baby, the first few months, I'm very aware of it now. The first time it really hit me, the postpartum stuff, was with Allie, and I struggled badly for a year after her. I was very depressed. I was very emotional, and I kind of let it control me. And I learned a lot from having Allie. I did not want to go through that. Who likes being depressed? I do not like being depressed. It's depressing. No one likes being depressed. So I really went through it, you know, after Allie. So I was a little bit more aware of it when I had Lana. And because I was aware of it, I was able to do some things to help that. I know sunshine helps. It helps to be in the sunshine. It's really hard when you live in Illinois. This time of year always gets me down anyways. And I feel like most of my babies have been born in winter. So that makes it harder. But with Kelly, I'm very aware. I'm very aware that I have to be careful. So vitamin D, I try taking the liquid vitamin D. That seems to help. Supplements, trying to rest when I can, and just being easy, taking it easy on myself. Knowing that I am going through emotional ups and downs now because my hormones are regulating, and just realizing that's okay. If I have to, I take the baby and I go in my room and I shut the door and I just nurse her for a while in there. And I listen to music, or I watch something on YouTube, or I read. You know, those things kind of help. So try to be aware and just don't do anything rash when you're feeling, you know, this way, because as women, we are going to go through hormonal things. So just be aware of it. Try to take some supplements and things to help. Talk to a friend. If you need to talk to a friend, you know, don't just keep it bottled up, but know that eventually it'll level out. Kelly is now 6 weeks old. And most of the time, the first 3 months are the hardest. Most of the time, by the time 3 months comes around, my hormones have leveled off and I'm fine. So those first 3 months, though, it's tough. It's tough when you're dealing with postpartum stuff. So, you know, the shocking truth is men and women are different. Our biology is different. Our hormones, our hormones are different in our chemistry. So you know what, Amber, you said, does anyone else's hormones seem worse after having a boy than after a girl? I think it's girls. I was perfectly fine after my boys. I've had 5 girls in a row. I think it's worse after girls for me. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but I thought I had read that. And you know, it's interesting because if you look in the Bible at the times where God made the women be purified before the purification process was over, it was longer for girls than boys. I think girls are just more rough on women because of hormones and things. Jessica said it was girls for me. Yeah, I bet if you ask people, Amber, it's probably mainly going to be girls that it was harder for. Ashley said some women who are overly emotional need to have their thyroid hormone checked. It's a sign of Hashimoto's thyroiditis. If I said that right. So Hashimoto's, that can be That can be a big issue too. So get your thyroid checked. I actually only have half my thyroid. I have a little scar right here. I had half my thyroid taken out. So every now and then I will have my thyroid levels checked just to make sure my half of my thyroid is still working. So I cried for a week postpartum, just looking at my daughter's face. Definitely girls. Yeah, everyone's saying girls. And then Cynthia's lucky. She said she doesn't think she's ever been emotional after pregnancy. So you're one of the lucky ones, I guess. So we complete our husbands and we pick up the slack. We compliment them and we are not the same. Okay. God's pleased and glorified when we fulfill our roles that he designed us to do. So what are some ways that you can work on your femininity, and you can work on being a gracious woman and all these things that we talked about. So if you have any ideas, go ahead and lead them. Miriam said she had depression and severe anxiety after her twin boys were born. She also got diagnosed with hypothyroidism. So once again, that's a thyroid thing. Our thyroids control a lot of different things. So yeah, definitely get your thyroid checked if you're having severe problems with this. So, and then Shara said, I wondered if the lack of vitamin D makes it worse. Yes, if you look up vitamin D, the lack of vitamin D definitely makes it worse. And it's harder for me in winter. By February, it's almost March now, and it is still so cold. It was like 4 degrees today. It's so cold in Illinois, and it's so gloomy, and I'm just over it. So by the end of February, I almost said femininity because that's what we're talking about. By the end of February, I'm just over it. So, it's awful. But yeah, be aware of how others see you. So one thing that I really like to do, I call it my profile. I like to profile people. I like to sit there and I like to watch people. I like to people watch. Who doesn't like to people watch, right? But some women and some men even are just they're so unaware of social cues. You know, watch people as you talk to them. If you are telling a story and it's like super long and you can see the boredom on the other person's face, cut it short. Be aware. Be aware if you're talking too much. Be aware if you're over talking. Be aware if you're not talking enough. Be aware if it's awkward. You know, be aware of just everything social. You know, be aware. You can even tell if a person is even interested in talking to you sometimes by how their feet are. I've read this in profiling books. So like if a person is facing you with their body, but their feet are pointed to a different location, it means they're really not interested in hearing what you're saying. They're ready to walk away. So be aware of social cues. You know, you're not going to click with everyone. So if something is getting awkward, just cut it short and go, move on. Go on your merry way. So yes, people watching is really fun. Don't monopolize conversations. You know, try to get other people involved. Don't overtalk people. Don't interrupt people. Watch for ways to help others. Okay. I try to do this. I try to watch for ways to help people. I try to watch for opportunities to hold open doors. I try to watch for opportunities to hold open elevators for, older people that I see coming, especially I was just been to the doctor a lot in hospitals. You see a lot of older people. So I try to look for ways to help them. Look for ways to help people. You don't want to be like the people in New York that someone's laying on the ground crying for help and hundreds of people walk by. Okay. Be aware. A true lady looks out for the needs of others. So be someone's friend. If you see a lonely person, go up to them and talk to them. Introduce yourself. Try to fill a void that they might have. This is a big one for me. I kind of sometimes just stand back and I watch and I watch the people interacting in my church. And if I see a lonely straggler that maybe no one's talking to, I'll try to make them feel, especially if they're a visitor, I'll try to go up and try to sit by them and make them feel at home. I don't want anyone to ever come into our church and leave and say, no one talked to me. No one even, introduced themselves. No one did this. So even though I'm wrangling kids and whatever, play the piano and running to the nursery to nurse and, doing all this stuff, I still try to watch out for other people. And, I'm not saying I'm perfect in that, but that's one thing. I feel bad for loners. I've mentioned this before. So I feel really bad for lonely people. So I want to try to make them feel welcome. So try to better yourself. Never stop learning, and be smart and be educated. Look after your household and do your research. Okay. This is a big one. The Bible talks about the Proverbs 31 woman looking after the ways of her household. And this is a huge one for me. I am not in the workforce. I teach piano lessons, and I went right up until I had Kelly with that. But I probably won't start private lessons again until she's almost weaned. But even with my musical education, I'm always trying to better myself. I'm always trying to get better at what I do. I'm trying to read up, on the internet about things that work for students and things that don't work for students. And when it comes to, things like vaccinations and health things, I try to read up and I try to keep myself informed. And, you are going to be making and spearheading a lot of the medical decisions in your family when it comes to your children, when it comes to your health, and you need to be on top of it. So always better yourself, look out for your children, be their advocates when it comes to certain things. And then, just don't let the naysayers get to you. When you make a decision like not vaccinating your children, you're going to have a lot of backlash. They're getting worse and worse about it. They're shutting down on every single social media site. They're shutting down the opposition. They're shutting down the voice of opposition when it comes to vaccinations. And that's going to make you wonder, why are they being this way? Why is it such a big deal that some of us don't want to inject our kids with all that stuff? It's a huge deal. So look into that. Look into why why is it a big deal? Research what's in vaccinations. And for me, this was the clincher for me. Okay. And you know what? If you vaccinate your children, that's fine. Just do not infringe on my right not to vaccinate my children. Okay. So the thing that was the clincher for me was learning that many of these vaccinations, they use aborted fetal cells. Okay. So I don't understand how you could do double talk where you can call yourself pro-life and you could be outraged at this law that New York passed, which you should be. Yet you can inject your children with aborted fetal cells. It's double talk to me. So for me, it's a moral issue. That's what it is for me. It just came down to finding that out and not knowing that before. And it was because I wasn't researched enough, and back when I first started having kids, we didn't have the Google machine as big then as we do now, where there's so much more information now available than there was 17 years ago. So, once I found that out and I saw that, then for me, it became a moral issue. So, but yeah, that's a very, that's a wise woman that's a wise woman attribute, just being informed and bettering yourself and always trying to learn. I'm always trying to read and I'm always trying to get information, and I'll read like fiction books and I'll read nonfiction books and I'll read medical books. I love medical stuff. There is not a Gently Led Sisters about vaccines. I do not believe so. That might be a good one to do, actually. So that would be a good one to do about vaccinations. That would be a very controversial one, and that would probably get me in trouble, but it needs to get out there. So I just found out that YouTube actually is demonetizing videos that are anti-vax. So I might get myself demonetized. Oh, well, it was a nice run while it lasted. So be kind to other people. Think of what you're going to say before you say it. Okay. I am bold. I do say things maybe that I say what everyone else is thinking, but I will say that most of the time I've thought about it and I say it. I am more bold than most women, but I do, I do try to think about it, before I say it. So carry yourself like a lady. Watch your posture. Posture is a good thing to work on. As I sit up straighter, let's sit up straighter here as I was slouching. So posture is a good thing. You saw in the video that I played at the beginning how they put the book on her head and made her stand straight. Well, it is good. It's a good practice to get into, to check in your posture. Also, the way you sit, especially if you wear skirts all the time like I do, it's, you want to be aware. Cross your ankles. Don't sit with like a man with your legs spread out all over. Be modest in how you sit. Be feminine in how you sit. So, let's see, have manners. Someone brought this up before. So have manners and be polite. Like, don't chew gum like a cow. Don't chew with your mouth open. This is one of my pet peeves. Don't slurp. Don't chomp away on your food. Teach your kids. Oh, I try to teach my kids this because I have that one thing where it's when you get angry at hearing people eat. Oh, I can't stand the sound of like them chomping potato chips, or I try to teach them chew with your mouth closed. That's a big one for me. Man spreading, that's it. Don't man spread your legs. You're a woman, so sit like a lady. I tell my kids, my girls all the time, sit like a lady. You are not a boy, sit like a lady. Is it okay to spit like a man? No. I wouldn't. I don't know who the CR person is, but no, it's not okay to spit like a man, especially in front of people. Yeah, Cher, I'm there with you. She said her fiance hates people slurping and eating. Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves. So be mindful of good hygiene. Obviously, this is a given, but this is something that you might need to teach your kids because it's not taught nowadays. Take a bath every day. My girls know they don't wash their hair every day. There's something called dry shampoo, which is awesome. And you can wear your hair up in a messy bun if it's like been 2 days since you washed your hair. You don't need to wash your hair every day anyways because the oils and things on it. But yes, bathe every day. It's very important. Teach your daughters that. Teach your boys that, please. Misophonia, is that how you say it? Misophonia is the sound that when you get angry when people eat or slurp. I don't know if I'm saying it right. But watch your language. This is another big one for me, and I'm coming to the end. I'm almost on my 3rd page. Watch your language. You're a lady. It used to be that men didn't curse in front of ladies. Don't curse. That's definitely not a ladylike thing. I don't even think I've ever said a curse word in front of people. I don't think I've ever said a curse word, period, not just in front of people. I don't even like saying the word crap and things like that. That's just the way I was raised. My mom didn't even like us saying it. So I'm really picky when it comes to words, I guess. But for me, one thing I always said when I was growing up as a teenager too, I was like, people who curse and use swear words are showing that they have a lack of intelligence because they can't think of a better word to say. And I've always stuck by that. I would rather use a big word and a fancy word than a swear word, because swear words are just common. They're just commonplace. So women with potty mouths are a messy look. I agree. Oh, I don't like it when women curse. I don't like it when men curse either, but especially women. When I'm in public, I was in the Dollar Tree the other day. Not Dollar Tree, it's Dollar General. Sorry. I was in Dollar General the other day, and there was a group of younger ladies. Oh, my son was with me, and we could not believe this. So there was a group of like 5, 19, 20-year-olds. And they were standing there telling the story about something one of the women's boyfriends had done. And they were cursing and using horrible, like the worst curse words. I think they're the worst ones. I don't know. Is there a scale for curse words? I think there is. And this was one of the worst. Over and over and over and over again, they were dropping this bomb, this curse word bomb. And I came over there and I was just, I don't hide my emotions well. And I was doing a look like this. And they saw me, and, I think they could tell I wear a skirt all the time. And, they kind of could tell that I was religious, if you want to call it that. And, CR is gone. That's what I thought. Yeah. All right. Ciara's gone. So I gave that look, and they were like, oh, you know what? Let's move our conversation over here. So they got the hint very quickly. But, I'm thinking, no wonder your boyfriend wants to get rid of you. You just showed who you are, and you showed what was in your heart by the vile language coming out of your mouth. So, it really does. Language shows what's in your heart. And if you are a feminine woman full of grace, you are going to exude femininity, and you're going to exude nice things and pleasant things. And cursing is not a sweet thing. And there's a verse about, the fountain bringing forth. Can a fountain bring forth both bitter and sweet, or something along those lines? I'm not quoting. I have a horrible time quoting verses exactly from memory. But, be careful what's coming out of your mouth. Don't use curse words. That's just another one of my pet peeves. So also be aware of your social media presence. We already kind of touched on this. Don't say anything online you wouldn't say to their face. That's just my policy. It would be a good policy for you to come up with too. Shara said, and when you're around people cursing, it will make you curse too. Catchy things that aren't good. Yeah. That's another reason it's important to not even have cursing. I hate cursing on the television set and movies. We don't have regular TV, so that's not being the regular TV. We have the TV Guardian, and the TV Guardian is this little box that if you do watch movies, which we have, it's great. For most movies, it works as long as there's closed captioning. It kind of filters, it blocks them all out. So even if you have, we've even played some movies where, if they say the word but, it even takes that out. So it takes out all innuendos. It takes out all curse words. It's I don't know, $50 or $60 off Amazon. Totally worth it if you want to watch a movie. There's an old musical, Newsies or something. I think there's 1 or 2 curse words. So that's the only thing in that movie that's even questionable. So that's the nice thing about the TV Guardian. When you have a movie that's really good, but there's just 1 or 2 curse words you don't want in the home, and that TV Guardian will filter it all out. So I really like having that. So if we could filter people cursing, that would be good, wouldn't it? But you can't. And we have to live in the world, but we do not have to be part of the world. So even though you have to live in it and you have to be around it, be a woman of class and stand out and don't curse. So disagree without being a jerk online. You can disagree. I have disagreements with people online a lot, but once again, I don't say anything to them that I would not say to their face. I'm pretty bold in real life, so it would probably be a little bit more bold than some people. But you can disagree. You can have a civil conversation without cursing, without calling names. Be straightforward without calling names. I don't like calling names. I don't think that's ladylike. And so I leave the name calling to the men. So I try not to call names. I feel like I can have an intellectual conversation without doing the name calling, and I can prove my point with words other than name calling. So I try to stay away from that. So what being feminine will do, and we'll try to wrap it up after this. I've gone almost an hour. I told you I could talk a lot about this subject. I love being a woman. I love being feminine, and I try to encourage other people to be feminine, because it really does bring a sense of peace and a sense of calm, because that's what God created us to be. God created us to be feminine. He created us to complement the man, where our men lack in maybe manners or delicacy. We're supposed to pick up the slack for that. We complement our men. So what being feminine will do, it will earn people's respect. People, believe it or not, nowadays, they do respect a feminine lady. Most of the time, the situation does not happen where I was at the driver's station place and no one stood up. Most of the time, if people see someone that is a lady, they will treat you as such. I remember when, this was years ago, we were all, exactly, that is how you attract the right type of guy too. birds of a feather flock together. So if you are just loud and brawling and cursing and disheveled, there we go, disheveled and unkempt, that's the type of guy you're probably going to attract. So you need to present, if you're single, this is for the single people, you need to be the type of person that you want to be attracted to you. So we were in the store a long time ago. We were all dressed up because we had just been at Sunday for church. And I remember it was so cute. There was this little girl and she saw our family walk by and she looked at me and I kind of waved and smiled. And I heard her as I was walking by and she looked up at her dad and she said, "Dad, there goes a lady." And I just thought it was so cute because she was just in awe because she saw us all dressed up, you know, me and my little girls all dressed up. And she's not used to seeing that a lot. So I just thought it was so cute that even a little girl recognized, you know, she recognized that I'm striving to be a lady and I'm striving to be feminine. And she recognized that. So it was really cute. But it will make your husband look good. When you are a reflection of your husband, just like your husband is a reflection of you. So, you know, my husband's a McMurtry and I'm a McMurtry. So goodbye, Wilma. So we're both McMurtries. So we both complement each other. We both are a reflection of each other. So I do not want my husband to be known as the guy with the crazy wife or the guy with the, you know, I don't know, the guy with the boisterous wife or the guy with the, you know, loud and stubborn wife. So I don't want him to be known as that. So I compliment my husband. I make him look good. If I'm striving to be feminine, that is the counterpart to him being masculine. So, you know, both being feminine and being masculine are good things in the correct gender. So it will make God happy. You know, God wants us. There's many verses. Look them up. I didn't even have a chance to go over all, you know, the verses in Titus and Timothy where it's talking about women, keepers of the home and things. God is happy when we are content and happy with our role. When we're happy with being a woman, when we're happy with being a stay-at-home wife, when we're happy at being a mom, when we're happy and content in our role, it makes God happy. So poor Tom. Oh, Jackie, you're not any of those things. Jackie, you're a sweetheart. So, and then be a good example to your kids and others. So that is my last point. But yeah, if you're a good example to your children, then they will pick up on those things. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I'll overhear my daughter say stuff sometimes. And I'm like, that sounds just like me. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's a bad thing. Sometimes doing it, and I'm like, that sounds just like me in a bad light. I'm like, ooh, I need to work on that. Because your children are a reflection of you. They pick up on your habits. They pick up on your character traits. They pick up on your personality. So they are going to mimic what they see. So if you are ladylike and feminine and you embrace that and you're happy with that and you're joyful in that, your daughters are going to pick up on that and they're going to want to be feminine and they're going to want to be ladylike and they're going to want to look pretty and they're going to want to do all these things. And Kirsten said, I've had little girls ask if I'm a princess, and now children ask Freya that. It makes her so happy. And if anyone knows Kirsten Fisher, her daughter is so cute. She has to wear princess dresses, and she loves looking pretty, and she loves twirling around in her beautiful dresses. And that's all right. That's good. That's good for girls. You want them to feel like princesses. If you treat them like a princess, then they're going to be more likely to want to marry a prince. And they're not going to settle for the first guy that comes along and tells them, ooh, you're pretty. They know they're pretty. They're confident. You know, there's nothing wrong with being confident. I'm not talking about arrogance. There's nothing wrong with being confident. And there's nothing wrong with raising confident daughters. And one way that you can raise them to be confident daughters is training them to embrace their gender and embrace the way God made them and embrace the role that he has for them. And that is, you know, being being feminine. So Jessica says, my dad had a saying, your walk talks louder than your talk talks. And that's true. Your kids will pick up on everything at home. So Dorothy said, when I was a kid, being girly and feminine was so demonized and ridiculed. When were you a kid? What year were you a kid in? I'm afraid now it's getting worse when it comes to just gender things, because I was just reading a story the other day. It was just this last week about people that had a baby and no one knows except for like their very, very immediate family. No one knows if if it's a daughter or a boy. They named it a baby. They call them they. They do not call them he or she. Their child picks out their clothes. Sometimes they wear dresses. Sometimes they wear pants. Sometimes they wear blue. Sometimes they wear pink. They're a baby. And when they are old enough, they will get to choose their gender. So that is the world we live in. And Dorothy said she was in the 2000s. I'm surprised. Maybe that was just, maybe the wave of feminism was just coming into it then in the 2000s. But when I was growing up, I don't really feel like, of course I was homeschooled. So I never went to public school or anything. So maybe it's different in public school. But I know nowadays, I was just talking to one of the girls in our church that goes to public school. And I asked her, I said, how many transgender people do you think there are in your school? Okay. And this is just a little town. This is Rock Falls. So we have like, I don't know, what is it, 12,000 people in our town or something. And she said she could think of like 10 off the top of her head. I could not believe it. And she said it's very commonplace that there's more and more girls that are wanting to be boys, and then boys that are wanting to be girls. And then she said that they'll have transgender, like they'll have a transgender girl dating a transgender guy. So I'm like, so there's a transgender girl who's really a guy dating a transgender guy who's really a girl. It's really, really confusing. So you wonder why people are so confused about relationships, because they're so confused about genders. It's awful. It's awful. So basically all that to say, just embrace who God made you to be. If you're a man, don't be embarrassed by being manly. And that's another thing. They're trying to make men so effeminate nowadays. And they're making men feel bad for, taking stands for things. And they want them to be all sissy queer boys in skinny jeans. Real men don't wear skinny jeans. So train your boys to be men too. Train your boys to be masculine, but that's a different subject. We're talking tonight specifically about training your girls to be feminine. So don't be embarrassed. You know what? The world and gossip sites and family members, sometimes they're going to try to make you feel inferior for feeling this way. But God's word is true. God's word stands. God's word works. God's word will, if you follow the things in it, you will be happy. You won't be miserable like all these other people. You'll be happy and you'll be fulfilled and you'll be content. Because I've known women that have come from both sides. I've known women that have been saved later in life and they switched to this mindset and they're so much happier now. In fact, my mom is one of them. So, she grew up in the hippie generation, do your own thing. And she did do her own thing for a long time until she was in her 20s, her early 20s. And then she got saved and she went to being a stay-at-home mom and a homemaker. And she was so much more happy. She was miserable growing up. She was miserable doing her own thing. So, and that's a testimony of lots of people. So I am going to leave it there. Let's see. Let me read the chat. Make sure I didn't miss any. Bullying in school. Yeah, the bullying is one of the main reasons I homeschool. I'd love to hear how to train our boys too. Jennifer said, especially as a homeschooling mama. I can't believe it, but I've almost raised two boys to adulthood, 17 and 16. It's crazy. They drive me nuts sometimes, but I love my boys. I love all my kids, obviously, but there's something special about your boys too as a mama. And then, so yeah, that's about it. That's about all I see on the chat. So thanks for joining, guys. I was long-winded tonight. I didn't run out of things to talk about tonight. So we had a good crowd tonight. I'm glad. But yeah, get the word out. We're actually over 1,400 subscribers now, which is crazy. I never thought it would get to this point. So get the word out. Try to share it. I think we are the only IFB channel out there quite like this. So it's a nice little community of y'all. You ladies are special to me, and I pray for you. I pray for you weekly, several times weekly. I'm not going to say daily. Sometimes it might just be a hurried prayer, not by name, but sometimes pray for all the ones that are on my prayer list. Just a really hurried prayer, but I do pray for you. I pray for you weekly, and I have the burdens of all your prayer requests in my heart, and I think about them often. So let's pray for each other and encourage each other, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.